Back here on CBS Sports HQ, Week 12 officially here in the NFL. In that 1 p.m. window on CBS, we have a battle of division frontrunners. The Bears, who have won 3 straight, sitting atop of the NFC North, taking on the Steelers, who are still sitting atop of the AFC North, but it's a little bit murky because the Ravens are surging. Aaron Rodgers now dealing with a hand injury. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, was limited in practice today. He did say that it was feeling better, his left non-throwing wrist, but he did not practice Wednesday and, again, was limited in practice today. So is he going to play on Sunday? If he is it 80%, 90%? What Aaron Rodgers are we going to get? And he was short with reporters on the matter of him playing. Take a listen.
Would it be a pain tolerance thing for you? If you play on Sunday, is that something you'd have to?
No, it'd be a safety thing.
Did it aggravate anything, or is this like a whole new injury?
Brand new.
What has to happen for you to play on Sunday?
Got to get the okay, and got to feel like I can protect myself.
All right, he's straight and to the point, but if Aaron Rodgers does give it a go, history is on his side against the Bears. He has a good track record. You see it here, including the playoffs. He has a 25-5 record against the Bears. That is the 3rd highest win percentage by a quarterback against an opponent since 1950. Now, on the flip side, the Ben Johnson era in Chicago is looking pretty good at this point. On offense, the team is top 8 in a number of statistical categories, and just a year ago, the team was at the bottom of the ranks offensively. The Bears are currently 4th in total offense this season. They haven't finished top 5 in total of offense since the 1970s. Our Evan Washburn is going to be on the sidelines for this game. Evan, thanks for joining us. A huge turnaround from last season with the Chicago Bears and that offense. How has Ben Johnson been able to turn around this offense in such a short amount of time?
Jacqueline, he demands a lot from his entire team, but specifically the offense, and most notably Caleb Williams. It is an extremely detailed offense, and there is a ton on the quarterback's shoulders. They want to play on schedule, on time, and as good as all those numbers are, what's wild, when you talk to Ben Johnson or Caleb Williams, they don't even feel like they're close to what they could be, want to be, and are probably going to need to be when they start playing some better teams. They've really relied on the big play. They've gotten big plays in the passing game, 20-plus yards, and then in the run game, 10-plus yards. A lot of it off script, though. Caleb Williams is maybe to be outside of Lamar Jackson this season, the best at evading pressure. His ability to get out of some of these sacks looks like a Houdini act, and that extends plays, and they've been able to connect on some big ones. But he's still sub 60% in completion percentage. They've had 17 drops this season. That's good for top 10 most in the NFL. So they're not playing the cleanest brand of offense, but they're getting it done against some subpar opponents, and that's what makes Sunday so interesting. It's about to get a lot harder for this offense. We'll see if they can sustain this level of production.
Yeah, we just saw it there. They really retooled that offensive line, and you alluded to it, Evan. The rest of the schedule is not easy for this Bears squad. Down the home stretch, they had the hardest strength of schedule remaining, starting with, of course, Pittsburgh, then Philly, then Green Bay, so on and so forth. So what is your confidence in this team to be able to go from worst to first with that schedule that's ahead of them?
Jacqueline, they remind me a little bit of the Giants from a few years ago when they made it to the playoffs with Daniel Jones playing his best brand of football in a Giants uniform, Saquon doing his thing. They beat Minnesota in that wild card round. They were winning a ton of close games. They were finding ways to win. Look, you never apologize for winning games in the NFL, but if you look at the formula for Chicago, it has been their offense, as we just touched on, some of the big plays they've been able to make, but it's really their defense and their ability to take the ball away. They lead the NFL in takeaways. Their turnover differential is out of this world, and the disparity in terms of takeaways and wins as opposed to losses is pretty striking. And as you know, in football, but especially this league, it's tough to rely on takeaways being your driving force in terms of winning games week in and week out. They've been able to do it for a large part of this season, but again, as they go up against more challenging teams, but probably more importantly, quarterbacks that take care of the ball. And if it's going to be Aaron Rodgers on Sunday, but even if it's Mason Rudolph, the Pittsburgh Steelers haven't turned the ball over at a high rate, and neither have the Chicago Bears for that matter. That should be noted as well. They've Caleb, most notably, has done a really good job of protecting the ball, but they rely on takeaways to generate extra possessions to get this offense going as it's still finding its sea legs in this Ben Johnson system.
Let's go over to the Pittsburgh side of things, because Aaron Rodgers still dealing with that wrist injury, and he wasn't really giving us much in that presser there, that interview, saying, being very short with reporters. Says he's feeling better. He was limited in practice. But, I mean, how big of a drop-off is it for this Pittsburgh offense if it is Mason Rudolph and Aaron Rodgers is not able to play?
Well, first of all, Jacqueline, let's remember Aaron Rodgers is arguably one of the more tougher quarterbacks. And look, they're all pretty tough for what they've got to do week in and week out. But what he's played through the course of his north of 20 years in the NFL is pretty wild. I was going back to it, just thinking about hand injuries. Remember, 3 years ago, he broke his thumb in his throwing hand early in the season against the Giants over in London. He played through it all year. Now, it affected him. It impacted his ability to be productive at the position, but he played through a broken thumb on his right hand. This is a fracture of his wrist on his non-throwing hands. Really, the areas of concern would be how he's taking snaps. So they're doing under center, shotgun, the pistol. He pointed that out in his press conference. That'll be worth noting. But to your point, if it is Mason Rudolph, I think you can take a lot of solace if you're a Steelers fan and what he did in the second half in that win over Cincinnati last Sunday. A bit shaky out of the gate, but that's expected. Cold, windy day. He barely got many reps during the week, as is the case for most backups. And then he righted the ship. And Mason Rudolph has been in a lot of big games for the Steelers as a backup to first Ben Roethlisberger and then competing with a bunch of guys from Trubisky to Kenny Pickett. And again, if he has to go in Chicago, I think they feel plenty confident, because Pittsburgh's a lot like Chicago in the way they win games. It's their defense generating takeaways and then the offense doing just enough.
If we look big picture and zoom out in terms of the AFC North, our friends at Sportsline, it's essentially a coin toss, according to them, as to who is going to win. They give the Ravens a 56.5% chance to win the division versus the Steelers with a 43.2% chance. So even though the Steelers are on top of the division, here come the Ravens. They've won 4 straight. Lamar looks good, all of the things. Who do you think is going to run away with the AFC North when it's all said and done?
I do think it's going to come down to those two teams, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I think the Joe Burrow return is exciting for all of us, but I just think it's too Herculean of an effort, even for Joe Burrow, to expect him to come in off the bench, off of a serious injury with the defense playing as bad as they played all year. The thing with Baltimore, Jacqueline, and I know this team as well as anybody based off of just the amount of times I've seen them going back to the preseason, the effort it's taken to get back here has been impressive. I don't like the fact that Lamar's missing Wednesday practices for different injuries. It's clear he's fighting through things. And look, the Browns defense is impressive despite what they're doing offensively and their record. So it's a challenge. But to have to come up with a trick play that they had from Mark Andrews that was unbelievable to win that game doesn't give me a bunch of confidence that they're all of a sudden on this tear and they're not going to lose another game. So I'd probably lean more Pittsburgh's way just based off of the fact that they have less to do to win the division, albeit they have to play each other twice here over the next few weeks. But it's going to be fun, and you wouldn't want it any other way. These are the two rivals. They've been the class of the division along with Cincinnati, and I do think it's going to come down to those two. But I'd give a slight edge to Pittsburgh right now.
Hey, as a football fan, I love the AFC North. It's one of my favorite divisions. So if it comes down to those last 2 games, I'm not complaining. Evan, we certainly appreciate it. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Evan is going to be on the sidelines again for Steelers Bears Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have the Colts and the Chiefs in that window as well. My Jags taking on the Cardinals, and the Browns and the Raiders, where Shedeur Sanders is set to make his first NFL career start.